next hour, we will present the nominees in 16 categories that represent the very best that the Nintendo Switch has to offer. Make no mistake, regardless of which game goes home with the award tonight, every single game mentioned here is worth your attention and worth your money. I hope you'll enjoy tonight's show. Let's celebrate some of the most impressive experiences on this fantastic platform, the Nintendo Switch. The categories we will be covering in tonight's show are, starting with Best Racing Games. Now this covers simulation games as well as arcade games, and then kart racers, of course. Best Compilation. This category covers collections of games across all types of genres, usually retro, but not always. Best Impossible Port is a category reserved for graphically intensive games that, by all rights, should not be able to run on the Nintendo Switch. Here we've got several games that run and play and look absolutely incredible, and everybody just wonders how they could possibly run on this tiny little console. The Nintendo Switch, over its 5-year lifespan, has become renowned for being a JRPG machine. These Japanese role-playing games have been hugely influential in the industry, and they have found a home on the Nintendo Switch. We have so many recommendations for Japanese role-playing games that we actually had to split it into 2 categories. So those 2 categories are modern JRPGs. Those are games that were either made specifically for the Switch or ported from other recent consoles. And then we have retro JRPG ports, which are games particularly from the 16 and 32-bit era, systems like the Super Nintendo, the PS1, the Sega Saturn, games that came over to the Switch that are just fantastic ways and often the definitive way to play some of these games on new hardware. So those are the 2 categories for JRPGs, Best Modern and Best Retro. The category of Best Indie Game brings together some of the very best experiences brought to you by these independent developers. We'll see who's going to take away the award. What would any Nintendo platform be without its first-party titles? Of course, those big epic games, the Marios, the Zeldas, the Kirbys. Best first-party game will bring together some of the best Nintendo-developed games on the Switch platform and decide once and for all which one is the absolute best. Our next category might not be for everyone, but Best Farming/Simulation Game brings together a whole bunch of diverse, different types of games that there's sure to be something in this list for you. Check this out for sure. Best Farming and Simulation Game. It's not all farming, of course. There are plenty of other types of simulation games, and we're going to discover some of those tonight. The category of Best CRPG or Western Developed RPG or role-playing game is full of heavy hitters. There are some really big titles on this list that the Nintendo Switch has to offer you. So keep an eye on this category because there are a ton of great experiences, and it's going to be really hard for us to choose which one is the absolute best. While the Nintendo Switch is not known for its frightening experiences, Best Horror Game category brings together all of the experiences that you might want to play on a dark and stormy night. Let's decide which one is the absolute best. Visual novels, as the name implies, are less about the gameplay and more about an experience. The Best Visual Novel category will dive into some of these experiences, and maybe one of them will pique your interest and make you want to dive into one of these narrative experiences for yourself. Best Retro Ports is a category that is going to interest a lot of the adult viewers tonight because some of the most iconic experiences in gaming happened 20 or 30 or even 40 years ago with huge systems like the NES or the Super Nintendo. Wonderful experiences that, whether it was Mario or the Ninja Turtles, there's so many great experiences from back in the day, and these are some of the greatest retro ports available on the Nintendo Switch so that you can play these games again on modern hardware. The puzzle and party game category is not to be overlooked. There are tons of experiences, whether you're stacking blocks or solving serious 3D environmental puzzles, or just sitting down and playing some mini games with your friends. There are tons of entries in this category that are worth your consideration. Platformers have a long history, and Nintendo as a company has been an industry leader at the forefront of the platformer genre with franchises like Super Mario. Best Platformer combines both 2D and 3D platformers into one category as we try to decide which is the best platformer on the Nintendo Switch. Best Beat 'em Up is a category that wouldn't have existed just a few short years ago, but thanks to a huge resurgence in popularity for the beat 'em up genre, thanks to retro games that started the genre off in the 16-bit and the 8-bit generation, series like Streets of Rage and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series that just popularized the genre, and today we're seeing that resurgence of this style of game coming back. So here we have several very popular games on the Nintendo Switch that you can enjoy. Which one will be number one? The action-adventure category can mean different things to different people. However, we have 7 must-play games here that deserve your attention. Every single one of the games on this list is fantastic in its own way. Which one will be number one? Stick around to find out. Don't forget to vote for your favorites in the comments below, and if your favorite Nintendo Switch game does not make an appearance in tonight's show, don't worry, mention it in the comments and we will consider it for a future Game Awards show. Let's get into the nominees for the first award. The nominees in the category of Best Racing Game on the Nintendo Switch are all fantastic games in their own right. The judges had a hard time choosing the objective best game out of this extremely competitive group. Without any further ado, here are the nominees: Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Horizon Chase Turbo, Burnout Paradise Remastered, Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, Fast RMX, Cruisin' Blast, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered, and Grid Autosport. Tune in next week for the winner of this week's category and a special presentation at the top of the show before we announce the nominees for the next category. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode of the Real Game Awards, Nintendo Switch Edition.